Hello friends, let's solve summer 2025 IGCSE Physics MCQ paper, component 2-3. Which quantity can be measured using a ruler? The distance traveled by a toy train in 1 second. Temperature obviously we cannot measure. Time taken for the toy train we cannot measure. The volume of the toy train. If the toy train is perfectly like a cuboid shape, yes we can, but it's not going to be. So most accurate measurement would be has to do with the measuring jar, not with the ruler for measuring the volume. So distance traveled by train by a toy train in 1 second. Yes. A car is driven from one town to another town along the road that is not straight. The driver of the car divides the total distance traveled by the total time taken. Okay. So average speed is total distance traveled divided by total time taken. So the average speed of the car. Which quantity can be determined? The area under the speed. The area under a speed time graph is a distance. It's actually total distance traveled, but it's fine. It'll do. Students are asked for a statement about the weight of an object. 3 of the statements are listed. The weight is the quantity of matter in the object. It's wrong. Mass is the quantity of matter in the object. 2. The weight is the effect of gravitational field on the object. Yes, this is right. The weight is the force of attraction between the object and the earth. Yes, it is right. 2 and 3 only. Samples of 3 different liquids have equal masses. The volume of samples are 190 centimeter cube, 200 centimeter cube, and 235 centimeter cube. The liquids are poured into a large measuring cylinder, and the liquids from 3 separate layers form 3 separate layers because they do not mix. What are the readings of the measuring cylinder at the 2 boundaries between? Okay. We know density is mass by volume. For same mass, higher the volume meaning lower the density. More volume is less density. So if you take a measuring jar, if you pour all three liquids, whichever has the least volume is going to be in the bottom because that's a more dense one. In this case, it's 190 centimeter cube. It's going to occupy 190 centimeter cube volume. Then second, 200 centimeter cube, it's going to occupy another 200 centimeter cube. Now the boundary will be 190 plus 200, so 300 centimeter cube. Third is 235 centimeter cube, same mass, so it's a least of all density. So it's going to float. Now they are asking 2 boundaries. So we have 2 boundaries. This is one boundary between the first liquid and second liquid. This is another boundary between second liquid and third liquid. So it's 190 centimeter cube and 390 centimeter cube. A car moves along a level road. The diagram shows all of the horizontal forces acting on the car. Okay. Which statement is correct? So first let's calculate the net resultant force. So it's 2000 Newton forward direction, 800 plus 500 Newton in the backward direction. So resultant will be 2000 minus 800 plus 500, which is 700. So there is a resultant force, meaning that the car will accelerate, meaning the car is speeding up. So option B. When the net force is 0 or all the driving force forward is equal to all the dragging force backward, then it will be moving at a constant speed. It's option B, we know that. In any circular motion, force is towards the center. A railway truck of mass 8,000 kg moves with a velocity of 1 meter per second to the right. It collides with the railway truck of mass 12,000 kilogram moving at a 2 meter per second to the left. 2 trucks become joined to each other and other when they collide and move off together. What is the velocity of the 2 trucks after the collision? Okay. 2 trucks are traveling in opposite direction. After they collide, they move with the whichever has bigger momentum. Now we know that total momentum is conserved. So what is total momentum? M1 U1 plus M2 U2 is M1 V1 plus M2 V2. Total moment before collision of truck 1 and truck 2. Total moment after collision, the truck 1 and truck 2. Now let's take right side as positive for reference. Yeah. Okay. So we know M1, M2 and u1 is mass momentum velocity of first track, so it's going towards right, so it's plus 1 meter per second. u2 is going to the left side, so it's minus 2 meter per second. Now after the collision they join together, so both of their velocity same, so v1 equal to v2 equal to v. Now let's take the equation and rearrange the equation. Instead of v1 and v2, let's put v. So I factor out v. Now let's just substitute the values. We'll get 8,000 into 1 plus 12,000 into minus 2 is v into masses of their trucks, total mass 8,000 plus 12,000. So all we have to do is rewrite the equation. Yeah, now it's minus 0.8. So it's minus, meaning that it is towards left. So 0.80 towards the left. See. A stone is dropped from a bridge which is 22 meter above a river. What is the speed of the stone when it hits the water? So if you try to solve using this kinematic or equation of motion, it will be difficult. Let's take the kinetic energy and potential energy into account. We know that bridge is 22 meter above the water level. So the potential energy is mgh. This potential energy is converted into kinetic energy when it reaches the bottom or water level. So whatever the potential energy stored in the top must be the kinetic energy delivered in the bottom. So mgh equal to half mv square. So let's cancel mass and mass. So gh equal to half v square. We have to find only v. So let's rewrite this equation. V square is 2gh. V is square root of 2gh. Now we have all the variables and values we need. 2 into 9.8 into 22. So we'll get 431.2 meter square per second square. If you take root out, then we'll get 20.8 meter per second. Round off to 21 meter per second. In gas, distance between the particles are far apart. Motion of the particles are very random. Particles of a gas in container of fixed volume gain energy in the kinetic store. Which effect does this have on the gas? So it's a fixed volume. So volume is not going to change. So both pressure and the temperature will increase. PV is constant. Yes. Gas particles exert pressure when they collide with the walls of the container. Which statement about the gas particle is correct? They experience change in force. Yes, they experience change in force, which results in pressure equal to. No, but pressure equal to momentum into area is wrong. So one is wrong. They experience change in force, which results to pressure equal to momentum by area. This is also wrong. Change in momentum, pressure, force into area. No, it's force divided by area. Only D is right. Solid changes into a liquid. Which term describes melting? A diagram shows some of the apparatus used to determine the specific heat capacity of a metal block. Which additional pieces of apparatus are required to find the specific heat capacity? Okay, energy supplied by the resistor is equal to the heat acquired by the metal block. That's a concept here. Let's solve one by one. What's the heat acquired by the metal block? Given the specific heat capacity of the metal block, we know that E is mc delta theta. Then heat supplied by the resistor, we know that E is IVT. So we have thermometer already there in the circuit, ammeter already there in the circuit to measure the current. What else we need? We need to measure mass, voltage, and time, M, V, and T. So we need a stopwatch, voltmeter, and balance. Four different surfaces area at the same high temperature. Which surface emits thermal radiation at the slowest rate? Slowest means it should be white. Both whites are shiny. So whichever has least surface area. So white, shiny, and 10. Option C. An object has constant temperature. Which statement is correct? If object is constant temperature means it's easy to assume that there is no energy transfer to or from the object, but it's wrong. No substance in the universe can be in such state. No energy transfer from or to the object. Okay. Idea is the rate which object receives the energy is equal to the rate at which object emits the energy. So option B. Which row correctly describe light waves transfers perpendicular to distance? A narrow beam of light consists of two waves of different wavelengths. The beam of light hits a sharp edge. Which effect will be seen beyond the sharp edge? Okay. If two wavelengths are diffracted, whichever has a longer wavelength will diffract more. That we know. Higher wavelength diffracts more. So the wave of longer wavelength bends round the shape edge more than the wave of shorter wavelength. C. Higher wavelength means less energy. So less energy means more diffraction. An object is placed 30 centimeter in front of the plane mirror. Which statement describes the image? Okay, it's a plane mirror, so image is same size. So either A or B. Now let's take mirror and let's say if this giraffe is the object. If it is 30 centimeter from the mirror, the image will be formed 30 centimeter from the mirror. So the distance between object and the image is 60 centimeter. So image is the same size as the object and 60 centimeter from the object. If it is from the mirror, then it is 30 centimeter. They have asked from the object, so it's 60 centimeter, 30 plus 30. Which statement about total internal reflection at glass air boundary is correct? So for total internal reflection, the light must pass from higher refractive index to lower refractive index, or it should pass from glass to air. Okay. So speed of light is less in glass, speed of light is more in air. So the speed of light in glass must be less than speed of light in air. Then only it means the glass has more refractive index than the air. What is the speed of radio waves in gamma rays? Both are 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. It's constant speed of electromagnetic wave. A student makes a sound in front of a large wall. She hears an echo at time t after making the sound. The speed of sound in air is v. Which expression is used to calculate the distance between the student and the wall? We know that speed is distance by time. In this case, distance is twice the distance between the wall and her, because the sound has to travel from her to go to the wall and get reflected back and come back to her. So it's twice the distance. So we are going to call it as a 2x. Now we just have to rewrite this equation for x. X is v into t divided by 2. Option C. What is compression? It's point in a longitudinal wave where particles of the medium are close together. Where they are far apart, it's rarefaction. Yes. Transverse has nothing to do with this. Which row describes the magnetic field around a weak magnet? Direction of the field is always from north to south, north pole to south pole. Spacing of field lines, if they are far apart, then it is a weaker. So it's B. A 0.60 meter length of a resistance wire with a diameter of 0.25 millimeter has a resistance of 6 ohm. A second piece of resistance wire of the same material with a diameter of 0.50 millimeter also has a resistance of 6 ohm. What is the length of the second piece of wire? We know that resistance is rho L by A. Rho is resistivity. Since area is given as a diameter, we'll write instead of area pi d square by 4. So if diameter is given, that's how we found the area, right? Yeah. So we know that R1 is equal to R2. Both wires have the same resistance. So let's write this equation for both the wires. Rho L1 by pi d1 square by 4 equal to rho L2 divided by pi d2 square by 4. We can cancel out rho, pi, 4, everything. Remaining will have L1 by d1 square equal to L2 by t2 square. So let's rewrite this equation for L2. L2 is L1 into d2 square divided by d1 square. Yeah. So let's substitute the values. L1. Remember, L1 is in meter and d1 and d2s are in millimeter. We have to convert, since answer is given in meter, we have to convert it's better to convert them into meter. So L2 equal to 0.60 into 0.50 into, instead of milli, 10 power minus 3 square divided by 0.25 into 10 power minus 3 square. So the answer will be 2.40 meter. A circuit contains a cell with an electromotive force of 2 volt. The current in the circuit is 2 ampere. How much energy is transferred by the cell in 2 minutes? The definition of EMF itself is energy by charge. So we just want energy. So energy is EMF into charge. But how to find charge? We know that I is Q by T. From this we can get Q. Charge is I into T. So if we put this in the, instead of EMF equal to energy by charge, instead of charge, I'm going to write I into T. So let's rewrite this equation for energy. EMF into current into time. That's energy in the circuit. So it will be 2 volt into 2 ampere into, why 2 into 60 seconds? It's given us 2 minutes. We have to convert it into seconds. So 2 into 60 seconds, 480 joule. D is the right answer. What is the electromotive force of a cell? That's in the previous question only we used energy supplied per unit charge as charge passes through the cell. So that's a definition. 4 lamps and 4 switches are connected to a power supply as shown. When all the switches are closed, the lamps are lit. When one of the switches is then open, only one lamp goes out. Which switch is open? We have 3 switches, A, B, C, and D. If we open A, then none of the bulb will uh, glow. So it's not A. Then let's check. If we do B also, both C and D will not open. If we do D also, both these bulbs will not open. So only if we open C, then only this bulb will go. So it's option C. In which mains electric wires are the fuse and the switch placed? Okay, it's both are placed in live. So 29 is B. The diagram shows wire moving downwards in a magnetic field between two magnetic poles. There is an induced current in the wire because of the movement. The induced current produces a force on the wire. In which direction is this force? So if you take this question for granted and using either Fleming left hand rule and right hand rule, most probably we'll end up in wrong direction. The reason is the movement of wire downwards, it's downwards. So it's movement, because of that current is introduced. So its generator will use Fleming right hand rule. But problem is they're asking what is the direction of the force which is produced by the induced current. The induced current produces a force on the wire. So it's Lenz's law. So the induced current produces a force in such a way it opposes the original movement. So the original movement is downward. So it will act upwards. So answer A. When the generator shown rotates, there is an AC electromotive force across the resistor between points Q and P and Q. The diagram 1 shows the position of the coil at time equal to 0. The coil rotates clockwise at the time T1. The coil position is horizontal as shown in diagram 2. Okay. The graph shows an output EMF between points P and Q plotted against time. Which point shows the EMF at time T1? Now let's look at the coil. It's like this. In T1, it's rotate to half. So it rotates like this. The EMF grows like this. So it's point at T1, it's point A. What is the purpose of splitting commutator in an electric force? To ensure the turning effect of the motor stays same in direction, despite of in alternating current, the polarity changes every half cycle. D. Beta particle has less mass than an alpha particle, but the speed of beta particle emitted during radioactive decay is approximately 20 times greater than the speed of alpha particle. Which statement correctly compares the properties of these two particles? Okay. Okay, they are comparing the kinetic energies of the particles. Kinetic energy is half m square, we know. Beta's particle mass velocity is 20 times higher than alpha. It's half mv square, so it's v square. So it's 400 times, the velocity square part is 400 times higher than the alpha. But alpha particle's mass is nearly 7,000 times higher than beta particle. So alpha particle has highest kinetic energy. Because of that, it is more ionizing. So D, more ionizing. Yes. Which observation provides evidence for the nuclear of atom? It's scattering alpha particle by thin metal. It's Rutherford Goldwheel experiment. Which effect on living things is not caused by an ionization radiation? It's infection. It's caused by virus or bacteria, not by radiation. An isotope X is radioactive. Which statement about X must be correct? It is radioactive and it is emitting alpha, beta, gamma particles. But we cannot say for sure if it's radioactive, it will emit only alpha particle or only beta particle or only gamma radiation. So B, C, D, all of them are wrong, meaning that it is unstable. So nucleus of X is unstable. That's a valid conclusion we can provide. A is right answer. An experiment is done to measure the radiation from a radioactive source. The source has a half-life of 10 minutes. Source is placed close to a detector that is connected to a counter as shown. The average background count rate is 20 counts per minute. At the start of the experiment, the count rate recorded by the counter is 1000 counts per minute. What is the count rate? 10 minutes later, meaning after one half-life. Half-life is 10 minute. So initial count rate is 10,000 counts. So if we have to correct for background radiation, it's 1000 counts. If we have to correct for background radiation, it's 1000 minus 20, which is 980 counts per minute. Okay. So after one half-life, activity would have been half of this. So after 10 minutes, meaning one half-life, 980 by 2, which is 490 counts per minute. But the counter will show background radiation also. So it's 490 plus background radiation, background count rate 20. So 510 count per minute. Option C. Which direction the sun appear to move every day? It's east to west. Yeah. A distant galaxy is moving away from the Milky Way at 4,400,000 meter per second. What is approximate distance between the Milky Way and this distant galaxy? We have to use Hubble's law. We know that H naught is V by D. We have to rewrite this equation for D, V by H naught. Yeah, it's given in meter only. Yes. Okay, no need to convert. It's given in meter per second only. H naught is 2.2 into 10 power minus 18 second inverse. So it is, if we do the calculation, 2 into 10 power 24 meter. The orbit of Mercury is close to the sun, then the orbit of Earth is to the sun. How does the values of gravitational field strength of the sun near Mercury and the orbital speed of Mercury compare to these values of the Earth? Okay. If you go closer to the sun, the gravitational field will be stronger, greater. So sun's gravitational field is stronger in Earth than in Mars, in the distance. So if you go to Mercury, then it will be greater. So the gravitational field strength of the sun near Mercury is greater. Since it's close to sun, its orbital speed also will be faster than Earth. So gravitational field strength of the sun near the Mercury is greater. Orbital speed of the Mercury is faster. Both. Yeah. Bye. See you on next video.